Hey Donna, I was still trying to figure out that chat throwing comments up there, and I have not figured it out. So, all right, we're just waiting for court to come back in recess from lunch. They should be back any minute now. Hey Deanna, no, I didn't hear anything about that. If I did, I don't remember it. I don't think they said anything about that. I think they have about less than a minute left, maybe. I have a feeling that Harley's testimony is going to be a long one because there's so much that happened afterwards that she still hasn't testified about. Dee and I went back and read over my notes from Friday, and they didn't mention anything about that. They said there was no, let's see, there was no, no shell casings, no clothes with Gannon's blood found on them. The only thing they found blood on that was a clothing item was Leticia's shoes. They didn't say anything about Gannon's blankets or the blankets that were in the basement playroom having any kind of blood on them either. It was mainly that piece of rug that she had cut out, the garage, the laundry room.
All right, court will call 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Defense? Okay.
And can you all hear that just fine?
Here. All right, I'm going to bring the jury in.
Okay.
Hey, Crispy Treat, thank you for being here. Yep, she started first thing this morning.
You can just scan and upload this, right?
What's that?
We can just scan and upload this, right?
The document? Yeah.
Yeah, just scan it, seal it.
Crispy Treat, so far this morning, she was pretty good. She had a hard time remembering a lot of things. It felt to me like the prosecutor might have gotten irritated with her a few times. But, yeah. She said she hadn't seen her mom since the day that she was arrested.
All rise for the jury, please.
I hope they realize they don't have their video on. There we go. She does seem very sweet, Deanna. I mean, we can say Leticia did one thing
Court
right.
will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Leticia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the court. When we took our break, we were in the midst of the examination of Ms. Hunt. That's where we will resume. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Hunt.
Good afternoon.
Kind of want to jump forward a little bit on January 28th, 2020. But before I do that, I think we left off somewhere around 6 p.m. in the afternoon. Up until that point, had you known where your mother was at?
No.
And I'm going to fast forward to now 7:21 p.m., where you're texting your mother, someone is here. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What was going on at the house, and why did you say someone is here?
There were detectives at our front door.
And did you see them out front, or how did you know they were there?
Yeah, I saw them out front.
And again, I want to scroll down. Your mom says who, and then you go on. What do you say after that?
I don't know, people with badges.
I imagine that's how you knew they were detectives, right?
Correct.
And did you know the sheriff's office was investigating the disappearance of Gannon?
Yes.
And so she responds, "Don't poke," and I think she corrects it if we scroll down and says, you say okay, and then she says open. How did you take that?
Don't open.
Did you open the door for the police?
No.
And I don't want to go through the whole text here, but did they ring the doorbell or knock on the door?
They knocked on the door.
And did they announce who they were?
I don't know.
Let's scroll down and see what you say. So now they're knocking. They're leaving, I think. Again, we can just keep scrolling down. She says, WTH, who is that? And how do you respond?
I responded saying, I don't know.
We can scroll down some more, please. Then you say their car is still here. And then what happens after that?
Someone called my phone, no caller ID, and left a voicemail.
So why are you doing a play-by-play of everything that's happening to your mom?
Because previously she had told me not to answer the door, so I was just kind of updating her with what happened.
And if we can scroll down a little bit further, do you get a voicemail from this call?
Yes,
It says there, I didn't answer, so I take it you didn't answer.
correct.
And you say it was a defective. Did you mean to say something else?
I meant to say detective.
You must text like me with your thumbs, maybe.
Yes.
Okay. We can keep scrolling down. So they left the voicemail. Do you remember what the voicemail was?
I just remember them saying like, hey, Harley, it's a detective. We want to talk to you.
Okay. And did you forward that voicemail on to your mother?
I did, yes.
If we can scroll down so we can see that. Keep going down, please. All right. So we stop it here at January 28th at 7:32 p.m. Is that the voicemail that was left on your phone that you sent to your mother?
Yes.
All right. And if we can scroll down to the next one. She says, why do they want to bombard you? You know what she meant by that or what that is reference to?
Yeah, I guess like why are they showing up trying to ask questions?
We can continue to scroll down, please. What do you say in response to that?
I said, I don't know. How did they get my number?
How long were they out there? Do you remember? The police.
They were out there for a little while. It wasn't like a quick like here and go.
Okay. And so at 7:37 p.m., do you remember calling your mother and having a conversation with her?
Yes.
And do you remember about how long that conversation was?
No.
Right. If the records indicate it was 10 minutes and 15 seconds, would that be about accurate?
Yes.
What did you guys talk about? Do you remember?
I remember she just said like, don't open the door. Like you're a minor. They can't talk to you because you're a minor.
And did you follow what your mom was saying?
Yes.
Did you keep an eye on them? Were you looking out the windows to see if they were still out there during this time period?
Yes.
And did you actually try to call your mom back on a couple occasions during this time period?
Probably, yeah.
Did she answer?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember actually having a FaceTime conversation with her at 9:55 p.m. on January 28th?
No.
Does that sound like something you might do if the police are outside and you're wanting to figure out what to do?
Yes.
Okay. And so what did you eventually do about 10 o'clock p.m. that night?
Yeah, so sorry, now that I'm reading the messages, it's refreshing me, but she had called me and told me to leave the house. She tried to get me to leave Lena there, and I told her I didn't want to. I didn't feel comfortable doing that, so she told me to bring Lena to one of her friend's house. And that if I left and the detectives were there, to not tell them where I was going.
So I take it was just you and Lena in the house when the police were outside?
Correct, yes.
And the police get there at 7:21 p.m., is that right, based on the text messaging?
Yes.
And at 10 o'clock, are they still there when you try to leave with Lena?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that. What happens?
So I opened the garage and they just came out from the side, right from the garage. And they were like, hey, Harley, like, where are you going? And my mom told me to say I was going to like Starbucks or something. So just listened to what she said and told them that.
Did you cooperate with them?
Yes, they asked me questions and I answered it. And then I feel like they kept asking me more questions and I was just like, I don't want to talk.
And why didn't you want to talk?
Because at this point, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Everything's just so like up and down. I'm just so confused.
If we can fast forward to 10:03 p.m. in the text string. Like just maybe go up a little bit. All right, that's good. So are you there in your book, or do you need to look at the TV to see where we're at?
Yes, I'm here.
So January 28th at 10:02:50, I think it's 6 seconds maybe. You say, as soon as I opened the garage, they stopped E. Is that what you're talking about? That they were out there when you opened the garage door?
Yes.
And so does that help kind of refresh? They were out there from 7:21 until 10 p.m. at night?
Yes.
When you were leaving with Lena, did you know the police were outside?
No.
Did you think they had already left?
Yes.
If we can scroll down now, please. You say they were hiding out. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, we can keep scrolling down. And your mom says, wow. Remember that?
Yes.
And then you go on and say, yeah. And then we can scroll down, please. Why did you say, but I think I'm allowed to leave?
I just didn't want to do anything wrong. So I didn't know if we were allowed to leave the house or not. So
If we can, your mom says, why wouldn't you be allowed to leave? Do you remember that?
yes.
We can scroll down, please. You say IDK, I don't know, right?
Yes.
Your mom says, I want my dogs and you. Remember that?
Yes.
You know what she was talking about there?
Just that she wanted like the dogs in me. I don't know.
Okay, kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
All right. And just have a second. We're going to scroll down. Do you remember telling your mom during this text string, that I told them I'm not going anywhere or saying anything?
Yes.
And why did you tell your mom that?
Because that's what she told me to say.
Okay. You can go down just a little bit. Keep going. Keep going, please. You can find where I just read from. Yeah, I'll find it here. Okay, there it is. So at January 28th at 10:04 p.m., this is you telling your mom, I told them I'm not going anywhere or saying anything. And you said no. Saying that.
Yes.
You remember how your mom responded? Can you scroll down?
She said, just keep saying that.
And what did she say after that?
Tell me what that guy says.
Do you know who she was referring to when she said that?
The guy at the door.
If we can scroll down, please. One more, please. Now at 10:05 p.m., your mom asked you, has any other family asked where I was? As like our family. That?
Yes.
Give you any context on any of the phone calls earlier about what this is about?
No, I just assumed she meant like if she was okay.
And she'd been missing essentially since about what, 3:45 that afternoon?
Yes.
If we can scroll down, please. We can keep going down to going. As we're scrolling through this, were you still giving her a play-by-play as to what the police were doing in the house and things like that?
Yes.
On January 28th at 10:07 p.m., do you remember your mom saying, I have to get an attorney fast?
Yes.
And do you know what that was based on?
She kept saying that they're setting her up.
Was that a continuing theme,
Yes.
really, all the way till you go back to Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
And do you recall telling your mom that they're just taking pictures during this text string?
Yes.
And how did your mom respond to that? Do you see that?
She asked, of what?
Were they taking pictures?
Yes, of the house.
And did you tell your mom what they were taking pictures of?
Yes.
Okay. If we can scroll down to 10:11, please. Okay. We can go down one more. All right, right there. Well, let's go back up. I'm sorry. My computer's out. So this is where she says, what are they taking pictures of? You say the entire house.
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes.
And then if we scroll down, you don't hear from her until 10:11 again, where she says, what's Landon been doing?
Yes.
Had you seen Landon up until this point?
No, I put she's not here.
And then she asked you, who's there at 10:11 that night? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And how did you respond to that?
I said just me.
Now, was Lena still in the house at this point?
No.
What happened to Lena?
The detectives took her.
You know where she went?
To Albert.
We can scroll down, please. She says she's been set up at 10:11 and 31 seconds. You remember that?
Yes.
And then she says, just you and, is that supposed to be Albert?
Yes.
How did you respond to that?
I said no, it's just me.
Okay. Did she ever tell you what to say to the police officers when they were there? Do you remember?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She just kept saying, like, don't say anything, like you're a minor and they shouldn't be asking you questions.
Did she ever ask you to call 911 if you need to?
I don't remember.
Okay. We can scroll down a little bit, please. You see that in there yet,
Yes.
Ms. Hunt?
Mhm.
What exactly is said there and what time is it?
She kept asking, why are there detectives there with you, an underage minor? I was at 10:12 and I said, I don't know, but I'm asking if I can leave. And she said, tell them you're uncomfortable with these men at
Okay.
10:13.
Can we go ahead and scroll down to 10:13? And did you ever tell them that?
I just said, I don't feel comfortable answering questions.
Did they stop asking you questions?
Yes.
And was there a female officer there?
Yes.
Do you remember having conversations with her not related to this in the kitchen?
Yes.
That kind of thing? Okay. If we can scroll down, please. Now, at 10:13:56, your mother says if not, you need to call 911 and tell them they are making you stay there. Remember that?
Yes.
Did you ever call 911?
No.
Why didn't you call 911?
because it didn't seem needed.
Cops are already there, right?
Right.
I want to fast forward to 10:23 p.m. Do you remember having a FaceTime conversation with your mom?
Yes.
We can blank that out if you like. Thanks. And how long was that conversation?
I don't know how long it was, but I know generally what was said.
What was said?
She told me to go meet her at one of the hotels and to just like be careful leaving.
What was that all about? You know, why did she tell you to meet her at one of the hotels?
We were going to stay there that night.
Is this the first time the entire day where she told you where she's going to be?
Yes.
And so what did you do after having this FaceTime conversation with your mom?
I listened to what she said and then I went to where she was.
And did you go by yourself?
Yes.
Did you take the Jetta?
Yes.
While you're driving to go wherever you're going, did you attempt to call her a few times?
Yes.
And did she answer?
No.
Where was this hotel you were going to, and how close was it to where you work?
It was right next to where I worked at.
So close to the Massage Envy?
Yes.
Off of Powers?
Yes.
Did she say why you're staying in a hotel room that night?
She said that she didn't want to be in the house with Albert and Landon and his family.
Why did she need you to leave the house? Did she tell you?
She didn't want me there with them.
Okay. And so did you pack a bag?
I assume so.
Okay. So tell us about it. Why were you trying to call your mom on the way to go to this hotel?
Because I wanted to make sure that she was there. Just because we hadn't spoken really after that. And then I remember I got there and I was waiting for a while because I didn't know where she was.
When you say there, where are you talking about?
The hotel.
Do you remember what hotel it was?
It's probably like a Marriott or Hilton or IHG or something.
Several hotels in that area?
Yeah.
Did you eventually see your mom at this hotel?
Yes.
Do you remember about how long it took her to get there and what time it was, that kind of thing?
It was quite a while. I remember waiting for a long time.
Was it in the morning hours in the 29th or was it still the 28th?
I don't know. It was late though.
It seemed like you were sitting in your car a long time in a parking lot waiting for her.
Yes.
Okay. What vehicle was she driving when she eventually showed up?
Her Volkswagen.
The Tiguan?
Yes.
When's the last time you saw that Tiguan?
It was that night.
How about prior to that night? When did you see it on the 28th at all?
I saw it prior. I don't know the exact date though.
Do you know what happened to the rental car?
No.
So you just go to this hotel, your mom shows up in the Tiguan. When she left that day, was she in the rental car? Do you know?
I don't know. I just know that when I met her at the hotel, she was in her Tiguan.
So what happens when she eventually shows up at the hotel in her Tiguan?
So she shows up and she's like, we just need to go home. She leaves her car there and then we drive back to the house in my car.
Did she tell you why she's leaving her car at the hotel?
No, she was just like, we can ride together.
Did you ever get out of your car to go to her car and look and see if there's anything in it, that kind of thing?
No.
Did you ever get close enough to her car to smell anything?
No.
Did you ever ask her, what are you doing, Mom? Why are you leaving your car here if we're going to go home?
No. She just kept saying she was just kept being like paranoid, I guess you can say.
Did she tell you why she was being paranoid?
There's a couple of different stories, yeah. I was told that they brought Albert and her in different rooms and tried to say, like, the other person did this to see how they would react. And that's why she felt like she was being set up.
Do you even know if she ever went to the police station to be interviewed
No.
at this point? You know, the next day is when she went to the police station to be interviewed. If you don't know it, that's fine. I'm just.
I don't know.
Okay. At least she's telling you that her and Al are at the police station. They separate us and they're trying to play each other against us. Is that what she's saying?
Yes.
Did you guys go straight home from there?
Yes.
If the phone records indicate that you were still trying to FaceTime with your mom at 11:26 and 11:31 p.m. on the 28th, would that mean that you hadn't seen your mom yet?
Yes.
And so what happens when you get home?
I remember going home. I stay in my bedroom. Yeah.
Who was there when you got home? Do you know?
Pretty sure Albert and his family and everybody was there.
Was Landon there?
Yes. I think. I'm not sure.
And if you looked at your text messages, People's Exhibit 705 that's in front of you, do you see a string of text messages on January 29th, 2000 from 1:36 a.m. to about 1:40 a.m. in there?
Yes.
Is your mom in the house when these text messages are going on?
Yes.
She upstairs and you're downstairs, or what's going on?
Yeah, she's upstairs. I'm downstairs.
And what is she asking you about?
I guess the police had like gone through her clothes and everything, and there was stuff everywhere. And asking me if my room was the same way.
Do you see in People's Exhibit 705 whether or not she asked you what the downstairs looks like?
Yes.
Am I saying 705? I meant to say 205.
Said 705.
I apologize, Your Honor. It's Exhibit 205. Does this text messaging back and forth go on for an hour or so that morning?
Yes, while we were at home.
Does it end roughly around 2 in the morning?
Yes.
So I'm assuming you eventually went to sleep, right?
Yes.
Do you remember about what time you got up?
Around 8.
Okay. Did you have to work that day?
Yes, I did.
What time did you have to be at work?
8:30.
So January 29th, 2020, you have to go to work. Did you take anyone with you when you left to go to work from the house?
Yes, I took my mom with me
And why did you take your mom with you?
because she said that she was going to pick up her car since it was right by where I worked.
Okay. Did you ever ask again, why did we leave it there anyway?
No.
Did you make any stops on the way to go pick up the Tiguan?
No.
You didn't go to the airport that day?
Oh, yes, we did. Sorry.
Okay, tell us about that. What happened? Why did you go to the airport? What happened?
I remember we were driving there and she told me, don't speed. I think someone's following us. And she had to turn in the keys for the rental car.
Did she tell you where the rental car was at?
No, I think it was at the airport.
So did she tell you why she kept the keys if the rental car was already at the airport?
No.
So can you describe to the jury what you remember seeing your mom do and how she returned these keys?
I don't remember. I just remember being in the car when she returned them.
Did she go inside the airport?
I don't remember if she went in or left the keys in the car.
Well, did you see the rental car when you went to the airport?
If she left the keys in them, then yes.
Okay. Well, how long were you there? Was this something that happened very quickly or did it take some time?
Yes, it was quick.
You didn't see her talk to anyone from Avis or did you?
No.
So what happens after she gets done with the keys?
We drive to my work.
Did she get back in your car then?
Yes.
Did you park your car anywhere or are you still just kind of in the drive-through at the airport of theirs?
Yeah, I was just sitting there waiting.
And so what'd you talk about as you're going to take her to your car or her car, excuse me?
She just told me not to speed because somebody was following us. And when we got to my work, she sat in my car for a little while and I went inside to work.
How close was it to the hotel where the Tiguan was at, your work?
It was close, across the street.
Did she tell you what her game plan was? I mean, as she sat in your car?
No, she just said that she needed a minute and she sat in the car and then she came inside to give me my keys and left.
Did you see her looking around the parking lot or looking to see anything?
No.
Earlier, you alluded to that she kept telling you not to speed. Did you say that she thought she was being followed or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did she tell you who she thought was following her?
The police.
Do you know where she was going after she got the Tiguan?
No.
What time were you supposed to get off of work that day? Do you remember?
I was supposed to get off later than I did, I'm pretty sure.
Did something cause you to leave work early? Do
Yes, I got a call that she was at the hospital.
you remember who called you?
I think one of her sisters.
So what did you do when you got a call from one of her sisters saying that your mom was at the hospital?
I asked if I could leave to go pick her up.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Did you pick anyone else up or ask anyone to go with you to pick up your mom?
Yes, eventually I did.
And who was that? Do you remember?
Janine.
Is that Janine Sanchez?
Yes.
And is that someone you worked with?
Yes.
Is that someone who was a friend of yours back then?
Yes.
Okay. Why'd you ask her to go with you?
I remember I tried to go there at first and they wouldn't let me go in because I was a minor. And then I remember just before that day, she was like, if you need me or anything, I'll come with you for anything that you need. So
where did you try to go first and they wouldn't let you in because you're a minor?
right.
Where was that?
The hospital.
Let's see. Do you remember what hospital it was?
No.
Was it one close to downtown here?
Yes.
Memorial Hospital sound familiar?
Yes.
So you went to the hospital, then did you have to go somewhere to pick Janine up?
Yes.
Where did you go to pick her up?
I believe I picked her up at her house.
Okay. Did you go back to the hospital after you picked up Janine?
Yes.
And what happened when you got back to the hospital?
We picked her up from a Taco Bell.
How did that happen? How did you get from the hospital to Taco Bell?
I got a call. She said she was riding with some random person and to pick her up at the Taco Bell by the hospital.
Who called you and who said that?
My mom.
And so did you ask her why? Why we're going to a Taco Bell? I thought you were at the hospital type thing.
Right. Pretty sure I was told like they didn't want her to leave at first, so
And how did you respond to her when she said, I got a ride with some stranger to the Taco Bell?
It was weird. I was like, be careful.
Okay. So did you and Janine then go to this Taco Bell?
Yes.
And was the Taco Bell here in the downtown area?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Platt and Wasatch?
I know Platt.
Okay. Was the Taco Bell close to Platt?
Yeah.
Close to downtown?
Yes.
And so what happens when you get to the Taco Bell?
I'm driving. Janine is in the passenger seat, and my mom's in the back seat.
Does your mom say anything to you as to what's going on and why you picked her up at the Taco Bell versus the hospital?
Yeah, she was just rambling a bunch of things.
You remember what those things were?
No, it's just, I remember being like just a lot, just a bunch of random stuff.
Did she have her phone with her?
No.
Did she ask to use anyone's phone?
Yes.
Whose phone did she ask to use?
She had my phone.
And how long did she have your phone after that point?
At least until we got home.
Did she tell you that the police had taken her phone?
Yes.
I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to hand you People's Exhibit 206. Have you had a chance to look at that last night?
Yes.
Do you know what People's Exhibit 206 is?
Yes.
What is it?
Yes. It's messages between my phone and Albert's phone.
And does it cover this time frame that we're talking about here after you pick up your mom from the Taco Bell?
Yes.
In particular, January 27th, 2020 at 7:16 p.m. to January 30th, 2020 at 10:41 a.m. Is that when it starts and ends?
Yes.
And do you recognize those messages?
Some of them.
Do you recognize the ones up until the point you picked up your mom at the Taco Bell?
Yes.
And do you see the ones that were used after you picked up your mom from the Taco Bell that went to Al Stauch?
Yes.
Are those messages that your mom used while she had your phone?
Yes.
Overruled.
And do they actually reflect your messages and what your mom was doing when she had your phone on those dates?
Yes.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 206.
Mr. Tellini? Objection, foundation. I think sufficient foundation has been laid. She's stated that she's familiar with her phone number. She's familiar with who she gave the phone to. I think it goes to weight, not admissibility. The objection's overruled.
In addition, Your Honor, this exhibit was shown to Albert Stauch, and he authenticated his messages on there.
He did.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Go ahead.
So where did you go after you left the Taco Bell with your mother and Janine Sanchez?
To Janine's house.
Did you make any stops or did you go anywhere before you went to Janine's house?
I remember getting the dogs at some point.
Do you ever remember going to a parking garage?
Yes.
What was that all about and who told you to go to a parking garage?
My mom told me, and she was looking to see if her car was still there.
Do you know where this parking garage was at?
Somewhere downtown.
And describe to the jury what you did as you went to this parking garage.
We just drove around, and she was just seeing her car was still there, and we left.
What did she tell you happened to her car and why was she looking if she told you that?
I think she was worried that the police took her car.
When you picked her up at Taco Bell, did you ask her where her car was?
I think she had mentioned it to me that it was there.
Okay. At the parking garage?
Yes.
Was it your understanding what this parking garage was associated with?
Just, I thought it was associated with the hospital.
Okay. Was it close to the hospital though?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you find the car in this parking garage?
I think so. I don't remember.
Did you see some deputy sheriffs in the parking garage around the car when you drove by it?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. So then you said you go to Janine's house. Why did you go to Janine's house?
I was just told that we couldn't stay at our house.
And were you planning on staying there prior to picking up your mom?
Yes, I remember her telling me, like, because I remember talking to her in conversation saying, like, I don't know if we can stay at our house. And she was like, well, if you ever need to stay with me, then you can.
And so prior to picking up your mom, you already made arrangements. I'm going to stay at Janine Sanchez's house tonight.
Yes.
How about your mom? Was the plan for her to stay there as well?
I don't remember.
Well, did she stay there?
Yes.
Do you remember her text messaging Janine while you're in the car?
Yes.
How do you know that?
From these messages.
And so that's not you texting Janine. What does the text message say?
These aren't between me and Janine.
Well, do you remember your mom texting Janine, is it okay if I stay here, or words to that effect?
Yes.
And did she eventually stay at Janine Sanchez's house with you?
Yes.
Were you there the entire night once you got there after the Taco Bell?
Yes.
I'm going to flash forward to January 30th of 2000. Do you remember, well, I'll ask you, did you text Massage MD saying you're going to resign?
Yes, I remember my mom wrote the email for me.
Was it an email or a text? Do you remember?
A text message.
And if the records indicate that was at 4:30 a.m., would that sound accurate?
Yes. I don't remember being up that late, but
Did you text that or did your mom text that? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Okay. So what happens when you get up? What do you do the next day on that January 30th?
I remember getting up. We took the dogs out, and I think that's the day that we drove to like Marshall's.
Now, as you're driving to Marshall's, who was in the car?
Me and my mom.
Did your mom ever say anything about the police following you at that point?
No.
Did she say anything about go the speed limit, don't break the law, that kind of thing?
No.
Did you know that the police were following you?
Eventually.
We're going to talk about what happens at the Marshalls. But
Okay.
up until the point that happens, did you know that they were following you on the road? In other words, any discussion, hey, there's a car behind us, and that car's been behind us for a while.
No.
Was your mom ever looking around to see if anyone was following?
No.
Nothing unusual about that trip then?
No.
So tell us what happens when you get to the Marshalls.
We get to the Marshalls, go inside to get like clothes or whatever we were looking for. And then I'm at the cash register, and that's when like the police come in.
Okay. What did the police do when they came in?
They took my phone, and as we were walking out, they put me in handcuffs.
How did that make you feel?
Bad.
Was your mom in the store with you when this happened?
No.
What was your mom doing when all this was happening? Do you remember?
She walked outside. Did
she go out before or after you?
Before.
And did you see her when you came out?
Yes.
What was going on with her?
She was also with the police.
Was she in handcuffs as well?
Yes.
Did she say anything to you that you remember?
Yes.
What did she say?
To not say anything.
And how did she say that?
She was yelling it.
Pretty hysterical at that point?
Yes.
Was she screaming other things?
Yeah, I remember her saying other stuff. She was just like, that's my daughter. Don't do anything. Stuff like that.
How long did all this take place?
25 minutes.
Probably seemed like a long time.
Yeah.
Did they eventually take the handcuffs off and let you go?
Yes.
Same thing with your mother?
Yes.
Did they take your car and your phone?
Yes.
Would you recognize your phone if you saw it again?
Yes.
Probably wondering what I got in my hand here, huh? If I may approach you, Honor, we're gonna hand you what's marked as People Exhibit 203, okay?
Okay.
In 203, it's pretty obvious that there's a cell phone in plastic there. Do you recognize that cell phone?
Yes.
You can take it out and look at it. And whose cell phone is that?
This is mine.
And is it in the same general condition as was when the police took it from you on January 30th, 2020 at the Marshalls?
Yes.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 203.
Mr. Objection. Exhibit 203 will be admitted.
So what was the game plan after they took your car and your phone? What were you and your mom going to do?
Yeah, we were supposed to meet my family. And at that point, we didn't have a phone to contact them to let them know where we were. So we walked down to a store that was in that plaza to use the phone to call them.
Now, prior to all this happening at Marshall's, did you know that you had family members flying in?
Yes.
And did you know what family members were coming?
Yes.
And what family members were coming?
It was my grandma, my uncle, and my aunt.
And what are their names?
Deborah, Dakota, and Brenda.
Is it Deborah Locklear?
Yes.
And who's Deborah Locklear?
My grandma.
And Dakota Lowry?
Yes.
Who's Dakota Lowry?
My uncle.
And Brenda, is it pronounced awkward?
Acquired.
What is it?
Acquired.
Okay, acquired. I'm
Yep.
sorry. And who is Brenda acquired?
My aunt.
Okay. And so did they eventually come and pick you up there?
Yes.
Where did you go after you were picked up at the Marshalls?
We went to the hotel we were staying in.
And do you remember the name of that hotel?
It was an extended stay.
Was it Extended Stay America?
Yes.
And you probably don't know the address, but was it up north area?
Yes.
Does 5855 Corporate Drive ring a bell at all?
No, I didn't know the address.
Okay. So what did you do when you got to the extended stay?
We got there, we were talking with my family, and then after then we went to Walmart.
And why did you go to Walmart?
They were just saying, like, you guys need to get some clothes because we didn't have any at that point.
I'm assuming you got some clothes at Walmart?
Yes.
Where'd you go from there?
Back to the hotel.
You guys remember where you ate that night?
No.
So once you get back to the hotel, do you remember how many rooms you had?
2.
Who was staying in which room?
It was back and forth, so I'm pretty sure my grandma and my aunt stayed in one room, and then it was me, my mom, and my uncle.
So you and your mom and Dakota?
Yes.
Did you guys talk about what you were going to do the next day or what the plan was? Your family's out here. You got 2 hotel rooms. What was the game plan for the next day? Do you know?
Yeah, so they were just there, like supporting us, of course, because of everything that happened. And the next day we were supposed to go and get our belongings from the house.
And how are you going to go about getting that?
They rented a van.
And who is they?
My aunt.
What kind of car did they have, or did they have a car? I'm assuming when they picked you up at the Marshalls the day before.
Yes, it was a sedan.
Do you remember what kind of make and model it was?
Nissan.
Sorry?
Nissan.
Altima? Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
And so did you go the next morning to get a van?
Yes, we all went to get the van.
And who rented this van?
My aunt.
Would that be Brenda?
Brenda, yes.
Okay. And so where did you go after you rented the van or after Brenda rented the van?
After we got the van, that's when we went to the house.
Did you take the Nissan Altima as well?
Yes.
Do you remember who was driving which vehicle?
No.
You remember what vehicle you were in?
I'm pretty sure I was in the car.
Okay. Do you remember who was driving the car that you were in?
No, I don't know.
It's okay. If you don't remember, that's fine. So what happens when you get to 6627 Mandan Drive?
There are police there. And we went in to go get our stuff. Albert's family was there. He was there. Just like everyone was there. And as we got our stuff, the police had to look through everything that we brought.
What kind of stuff were you getting?
Mainly just like clothes.
Did you go to your room to get your clothes, or what items did you get out? Do you remember?
Yes, I went to my room to get my clothes.
Were there suitcases?
Yeah, we were filling like Tupperware bins or suitcases or like bags or kind of anything.
Do you remember seeing a big, large olive green suitcase that had wheels? And did you remember seeing that when you were moving things out of the house that day?
No.
Do you know what suitcase I'm talking about?
Yes.
And who did that suitcase belong to? Do you remember?
Albert.
And is it a suitcase that you saw in the past when you were moving from Alaska and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. Were the police checking every suitcase that came out of that house?
Yes, they were checking anything we took out. If it was any books, they had to go through the pages. We couldn't really take any technology.
And so how long did this take to get things out of the house and put in the van?
They were trying to do it quick, maybe like an hour.
What happens when you get your things and the van is loaded up? Where do you go from there?
We were supposed to drive back to the hotel, but as we're leaving, my mom saw a reporter and wanted to talk to them.
Whose idea was it to talk to the reporter? Do you remember?
My mom's.
Did anyone try to talk her out of it?
Yes.
Who?
I just remember my family saying, like, that's probably not a good idea.
Was your mom pretty determined to talk to this reporter?
She had got out the car, so I don't remember what she had said to them, but I remember like we had left the area where we were at and went down like a back street at the back of the neighborhood to talk to them.
So you went somewhere else so that your mom could do this interview with the reporter?
Yes.
You still had the Nissan and you still had the rental van?
Yes.
So talk about that interview. What were you doing when your mom was being interviewed by, was it KKTV?
Yes.
What were you doing?
I was just waiting in the car.
Was there a point in time in the interview where your mom asked you to come out?
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Did you get on camera and answer questions?
Yes.
Why did you answer the questions the way you did on KKTV?
Because that's how she told me to.
Were you doing what your mom told you to do during that time period?
Yes.
And do you recall what those questions were?
I know they asked me my name. I don't remember what they asked me after that.
Do you remember talking about the hike at Garden of the Gods and whether or not you saw Gannon after this hike and things like that?
Yes.
And is that what you're talking about? You're just going along with what your mom wanted you to say?
Yeah, when she came to the car, she was like, come on, let's go do this interview. I didn't want to do the interview. And I was like, I don't know what I'm like supposed to say because I was told that we weren't allowed to talk about the fire. So I was like, am I allowed to talk about the fire? Yeah.
And you said you saw him, right? After the hike.
Yes.
And you did see him, as you testified earlier. That's when he was in the bedroom and you got home from work late at night and you didn't know if he was asleep or awake, but you saw him in bed.
Yes.
Okay. What did you do after this interview?
We left and went to the hotel.
Both cars?
Yes.
And car?
Yes.
What happens when you get back to the hotel?
We get back. Remember my mom saying that she needed to leave because she needed to get dog food.
And did she leave?
Yes.
Do you recall what car she took?
The rental car.
The Nissan Altima?
Yes.
And how long was she gone?
She was gone a while.
2.5 hours?
Yeah, it was
Overruled.
Did it seem like it was that long, 2.5 hours?
a long time, yes.
Did she tell you where she was going to this pet store, what location it was and things like that?
No, I remember when she came back, I was like, what took so long? And she was like, I didn't use the GPS. So I got lost.
What was the game plan for the next day when she comes back? Did you know what was going to happen the next day, February 1st?
That's the day that we left.
Okay. And so just January 31st is when you go and get the items out of the house, the KKTV interview, you go back to the hotel. She's gone for quite a while, comes back. The next morning, what was the game plan?
The next morning, I remember that we were going to leave, and my aunt said that she didn't want to pay for the van while we were gone, and just like insurance purposes. So we had to go and get a new one.
And when you say we, who are you talking about?
Like they just had to go get a new one.
Do you recall who went and got a new van?
I don't remember if I went with them or not.
Did eventually your mom show up in a different van and at the hotel?
Yes.
And would that be in the morning of February 1st, 2020?
Yes.
Did you have any idea what was going to happen when she came back with the van, a new van, and on February 1st, 2020?
I just knew that we were leaving. I didn't know where we were going.
Did you ask your mom where we're going?
Yeah, the destination changed multiple times.
Tell us about that.
We were leaving. I remember she just kept saying, like, where do you want to live? And I was just confused. And originally it was going to be Texas, and then it was Florida, and then Myrtle Beach. Just kept changing.
When your mom came in this new van, did you see what was in the back of the van?
No.
Did you ask about where our stuff is? Because assuming all your bags and things were in the first van that Brenda, is it acquired?
Acquired.
I'm struggling with that name. They were in there when you moved them. Do you know how they got from one van to another, or if they even got transferred?
Yes, my mom and my uncle moved them.
How do you know that?
I just remember that morning it was cold outside and I was in the hotel and they had moved stuff.
And so was this a pretty quick deal? I mean, did your mom literally come back, pick you up, and then you hit the road? Is that what happens?
I remember that they were on a time crunch because my family had to get back to their flight in Denver.
And so did your family go one direction? And I don't know if it's the same direction, but and you and your mom went somewhere else?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Sharon?
You may.
Let me hand you People's Exhibits 201 and 202.
Okay.
Do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes.
What is People's Exhibit 202?
It is the back of the van.
Is that a picture of the van that your mom rented back on February 1st, 2020 and picked you up from the hotel?
Yes.
And 204, is it 204? 202 and 203, is that right?
201 and 202.
God, I'm not even close. So 201 is a picture of the van. What is 202?
A picture of the back of the van.
Is that what the back of the van looked like as far as you know?
Yes.
Was there a partition between the driver's seat and the back of the cargo area?
What do you mean?
Can you see like a metal grate between the cargo area and the driving area of that van?
Yes.
Is that what that looked like from inside?
Yes.
Move for the missions of 201 and 202.
No objection. Exhibits 201 and 202 will be admitted.
Request to publish.
You may go ahead.
So here we have People's Exhibit 201. Do you see that on the TV screen behind you?
Yes.
Is that the van then that you drove off to with your mom on February 1st, 2020?
Yes.
And People's Exhibit 202. What are we seeing People's Exhibit 202?
It is a picture of the back of the van.
Did you ever go back in this back area during the entire time you had this van?
I did not know
And why not?
because everything that I needed was right by my seat in the front of the van.
Want to go back there?
I remember like wanting more clothes
Why didn't you go back and get some more clothes?
just because whenever we stopped, it was like quick. Like whenever we stopped at hotels and stuff. So there's no point.
Well, did you ever ask your mom, why can't I go back there and get some clothes?
No.
Did your dogs ever go back there?
No.
Did you have your dogs with you? I guess I should ask first.
Yes, we did.
Can we go to People's Exhibit 303 that's already been admitted? I'm going to show you a picture that's already in evidence. It's People's Exhibit 303 in just a second. Okay, 303 is up on the TV screen now. Do you recognize this photograph? It has a placard 14 with what appears to be a kind of a rubber dog bone.
Yes.
You recognize that dog bone?
Yes.
And how do you recognize that?
Because we had all like the dog's toys up front and their food and everything. They were playing with it on the drive.
Did you leave that in the van after you turned it in?
I didn't know until yesterday.
How sure are you that that's the dog bone that you had with your dogs in that van?
It looks familiar, like because like they were puppies, so we had like the little bones. So yeah.
Okay. All right, great. We can take that down. So, what are you talking about as you're leaving in this budget van from the hotel room? Do you ask your mom where you're going? What's the game plan? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I did. That's when she was asking me like, where do you want to live? And the destination just kept like changing. And she was just talking about like starting a new life.
What about Albert and Lena? Gannon? Did you ever talk about leaving them?
No, she just kept saying that, Albert went against her and doesn't believe her. So that's why she wanted to leave.
And had something like that happened in the past where you and your mom left Albert and the kids on the road somewhere leaving?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that.
There were multiple times that she would just get like angry or frustrated and ask me to like pack up all my clothes and we'd get in the car. One time specifically from Colorado, we drove all the way through Kansas and then she would always like be like, okay, we just need to go home because her and Albert would talk it out and then we'd go home.
Did you think that was going to happen on this trip?
Yes.
Did that happen on this trip?
No.
At what point did you realize that was not going to happen on this trip?
Once we were close to Myrtle Beach.
So all the way across country up to Myrtle Beach, you're thinking, we're going to go back to Colorado, everything's going to be fine, they're going to get back together?
Yes.
Do you remember when this trip to Kansas happened that you end up turning around and going back?
It was during the time that we lived in Colorado. I don't know the exact month. No.
Sometime during 2019 then?
Yes.
Do you remember stopping at a Love's truck stop in Pueblo, Colorado to get gas?
Yes.
Do you remember about what time it was?
No.
Do you remember stopping at a Walmart in Trinidad on your way in the budget van?
Yes.
And do you know why you stopped at the Walmart in Trinidad?
To get a phone.
And did you guys get a phone?
Yes.
Who went in and got the phone?
My mom.
Up into this point, as she's driving, Was she obeying the laws and stopping at stoplights, stopping at stop signs, that kind of thing as she's driving?
Yes.
Did she know where she was going? Did she ever tell you, I'm lost, I don't know what we're doing here?
No.
Where did you think you were going as you left the Walmart in Trinidad?
Texas.
Why Texas?
I just remember her saying, like, Texas is a good place to live.
Up until this point, did you notice anything unusual in the back of the van?
No.
Did you smell anything in the back of the van?
No.
You talked about Gannon and where Gannon might be driving down through Trinidad, southern Colorado.
No, she was on the phone a lot talking to people about everything.
What was she talking about?
I remember one conversation was about a video that was going to be surfaced. And she said it was going to prove her innocence. Just going over like everything that happened.
Who is your mom concerned about during these phone conversations?
Sustained, I think you can ask her what she said.
Sure. During these phone conversations, did you hear your mother talking about?
Did I what? I'm sorry.
Your mother talking on the phone to someone on the other side.
Yes.
Did you hear what she was saying?
Yes.
Who was she talking about with regards to what's going on with Gannon being missing and things like that?
Her sister.
Was she talking about her sister, or was she talking to her sister about herself?
Talking to her sister about herself.
And what were the kind of things she was saying?
She just kept saying like she was set up, that this video that's going to surface will show that Gannon came home. Just things along that line.
Now, as you're sitting in that van listening to these conversations, did you ever ask your mom, what are we doing? Why are we leaving? Gannon's missing. Why aren't we out looking for him? That kind of stuff?
No, I didn't really question her a lot.
Why didn't you question your mom?
I would be told that, like I'm being like disrespectful or like talking back.
And what would happen if you were being disrespectful or talking back to your mom?
Sometimes she would like backhand me.
Where would she backhand you at?
To my face.
Is that why you just didn't say anything and you sat in the van and went wherever she was driving?
Yes.
Overruled.
Do you eventually go to Amarillo, Texas?
Yes.
And do you recall staying the night in Amarillo, Texas?
Yes.
And do you remember what hotel you stayed at in Amarillo, Texas?
No.
Did you stay at a Candlewood Suites?
Sounds familiar, yes.
And do you remember watching some videos of you and the dogs walking in a Candlewood Suites in Amarillo, Texas?
Yes.
Okay. You know, we can take a break now and then get into the videos, or I can keep going, whatever you prefer.
Council approach, please.
Yep, Deanna, we were waiting for that. And I highly doubt if it was just a little slap of the face for her to be
Mr. Young?
the way
Yeah,
she
sure,
is.
thanks. You know, I believe there's a stipulation to the admission of People's Exhibit 316, 321, 317, 318, 320, and 323. And that's the order we're going to play them. That's why I went out.
I was going to say, let's try that again.
All right, we'll go 316 through 318.
316 through 318.
320, 321, and 323.
Okay. And defense, do you agree?
I do.
All right. Exhibits 316 through 318, 320, 321, and 323 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. And before we play those, Ms. Hunt, did you hear your mom making these reservations as you were driving, particularly the one in Amarillo at the Candlewood Suites?
Yes.
You remember about how close in time to when you actually checked in that she made these reservations?
It was close in time, yeah.
And would she make the reservations for one person or two people with two dogs? How would she make that reservation?
For one person.
And do we see that in the video that you'll walk through the lobby first with two dogs? She later comes in and goes to the counter and registers?
Yes.
With that, we would play People's Exhibit 316.
All right.
Before we hit play, is that you with the dogs right there that we see in the still image?
Yes.
Go ahead and hit play, please. Now, the clock on that video looked like it said 7:48 p.m. or 1948 in military. Remember it being about that time when you checked into the hotel?
Yes.
We can now play People's Exhibit 321. Can we? Yeah, we'll just let it play. Now, that video stopped at 7:47. Is that a continuation of you walking through the lobby, going back to the elevators?
Yes.
That speaks for itself, but is that what happens here?
Yes.
And where were you going to go? Why'd you go to the elevators? Do you know?
I just know like she didn't want to pay for two dogs staying with us, so we just went in separate.
Okay. And was that routine throughout this trip? Would you do that every night you stayed somewhere?
Yes.
We can play 317 now. Is that your mom there we see at the counter?
Yes.
Video stopped and it looked like the time was 7:47 p.m. Did you see that on the counter?
Yes.
You know where you're at as your mom's at the counter?
By the elevators.
We can go ahead and play People's Exhibit 318. Now, we haven't seen any bags in either of your hands now. Did you guys get bags out of the van or change clothes, or what was the plan with that?
No, it was always just like a in and out thing when we would stop at hotels.
We can go to 3:20 now. Okay, 3:20 has been played. It looked like it was 7:50 when that stopped. Is that right?
Yes.
So we can go to 3:23 now.
They need to make Leticia pick her head back up. She acts completely bored with all of this.
So she got on the same elevator you did?
Yes.
Do you remember where you met up in that hotel that night?
No, I don't know if we knew the room beforehand or how we arranged that.
Do you leave the hotel at all to go eat dinner or do anything like that? Do you know?
No.
How did you eat that night? Do you remember?
We would order it to the room.
Room service? What'd you do?
No, Grubhub.
During the entire trip, did you ever stop anywhere and eat at a restaurant, a sit-down place?
No.
What kind of places, where would you eat during this trip?
Places with like a drive-through.
And would both of you go in to the drive-through or would you drive the van to the drive-through area?
I remember one time me going inside to get our food.
Did you ever stay in the van by yourself?
No.
You know why?
No.
Do you remember when you checked out of that particular hotel room?
The next day.
On February 2nd, 2020? Do you remember about what time of day it was when you left?
Around like 9 or 10. Checkout's at like 11, so.
Okay. And so when you wake up the next morning, do you have any idea where you're going?
No, just back on the road.
Was the plan still going to Texas, moving to Texas?
I think at that point it was, we were just going somewhere in Florida.
Now, the night you stayed in Amarillo, Texas, did you and your mom sleep in the same bed?
I know there were times where we did. I don't remember at which hotel.
Were there times where you had your own bed?
I don't remember. I remember like one specifically when we did have the same bed.
Well, the night of February 1st into February 2nd, did your mom ever leave the room by herself?
No, not to my knowledge.
February 2nd, do you remember driving all the way to Decatur, Texas on that date?
Yes.
And do you remember staying at Candlewood Suites in Decatur, Texas?
Yes.
Did your mom do the same thing? Would she call in advance, make a reservation? Would you go in with the dogs first? She comes in later.
Yes.
As she's making these reservations, do you recall her using any kind of corporate rate or saying that she was with a corporation, things like that?
Yes.
What would she say?
I believe it's called Ford Motors.
Where would that come from? Do you know?
My aunt.
So your mom knew that she can get a cheaper rate by saying Ford, or do you know that?
Yes.
Based on where your aunt worked?
I believe it was her husband. Yeah.
Do you remember your mom ever leaving the hotel room when you're in Decatur, Texas on February 2nd, 2020?
No.
If she would have left the hotel room, would you have known it?
When I was awake, yes.
Okay. Obviously, if you're asleep, you don't, right?
Right.
Okay. So February 3rd, 2020, do you remember checking out and leaving Decatur, Texas?
Yes.
Would it be about the same time you left the hotel in Amarillo?
Yes.
Do you remember driving all the way to Pensacola, Florida?
Yes.
Long drive, right?
Yes.
When you get close to Pensacola, do you remember your mom making the reservations at a hotel room?
Yes.
And do you remember what hotel room that was?
Not the name, no.
Was it the Candlewood Suites?
Probably.
Same process. She's with the Ford Motor Company, corporate discount, one person. Would you walk in first? She walks in later?
Yes.
You remember that happening?
Yes.
At this point, I'd like to publish People's Exhibit 181, which is already in evidence. Ready? So People's Exhibit 181 is up on the TV screen. You see that?
Yes.
You recognize any signatures on that document?
Yes.
Whose signature do you recognize?
My mom's.
You remember staying at that Kingwood Suites in Pensacola, Florida on the night of February 4th into the early morning hours.
Yes.
And do you remember checking in after midnight?
Yes.
Or actually going to bed after midnight?
Yes.
How many beds did you have in that room?
One.
And was that a queen size bed?
No, I think it was a king.
If this document says it was a queen size bed, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Did you guys eat at the hotel that night, or do you remember?
I think we ate beforehand, but I don't know.
Did you stop on the road somewhere and do one of these drive-throughs you were talking about?
Yes.
Pick up some quick food? Okay. So what happens when you get into this room? Do you remember?
You just get in, go to sleep.
Now, on People's Exhibit 181, it says that the car you're driving is a Nissan Altima. You guys weren't driving a Nissan Altima.
Right.
You see the Ford Motor Company at the top of the page there. Middle of this motion here is it zoomed in.
Oh, yes.
Is that consistent with what you've been talking about? How she would use corporate reductions to stay in these hotel rooms?
Yes.
So after midnight on February 4th, 2020, did your mom ever leave that room?
Not that I know of, no.
Were you sleeping the entire time, or were you awake during times that night? And we're talking 12:30 in the morning on.
I was asleep.
Earlier, you indicated you're kind of a hard sleeper. Would you know if your mom left that room or not?
No.
How was your mom acting as you checked into this hotel room?
She was acting normal.
Up until this point, had you ever gone to the back of that van? Back.
No.
At any of the stops up to this point, had you gotten any change of clothes or gotten any suitcases out of the back of the van?
No.
At any point during this trip to Pensacola, did you smell anything in the back of that van?
No.
Do you know why I'm asking you if you smelled anything in the back of that van?
Yes.
Why?
Because Gannon was back there.
How do you know Gannon was back there?
Because you guys told me that there was evidence that he was back there.
Did you later learn that Gannon's body was found in Pensacola, Florida on
Yes.
March 17th,
Yes.
2020? How did you learn that?
When they arrested my mom, and the FBI like came to the house and told me.
So what happens when you wake up morning hours of February 4th, 2020? What's going on in the room? Tell us about when you checked out and things like that.
Yeah, it was just like all the other days. We just check out. Afterwards, we go grab breakfast, and then we go to Orlando.
Why are you going to Orlando?
She was planning that that's where we could stay. I remember her like calling apartment places to like see if we could live there.
As far as you concerned, is that where you're going to be living at the end
Yes.
of this trip?
Yes.
Miss Hunt, I want to ask you a direct question. Throw that suitcase over a bridge in Pensacola, Florida
No, I did not.
on February 4th, 2020.
No, I did not.
How was your mother acting like after you left Pensacola?
I remember that morning when we went to go get breakfast. That was another time that I went into the restaurant. Like I went into McDonald's to get our food, and she was just like I just remember her like being sad, just like being like down.
Did you ask her why she's sad or down?
Yeah, she was just like because of everything that's going on.
When you get to Orlando, do you remember how long it took you to get to Orlando from Pensacola?
No.
Was it the next day?
Yeah.
What happens when you get to Orlando?
We were supposed to stay there. That was supposed to be like our time that we were going to stay there for a while. I think she booked our hotel for like 5 or so days. And we left early.
Why'd you leave early? Do you know?
She kept saying like, they know I'm here. They're following us.
And who was she referring to when she said they're following us or they know we're here?
The police.
Was she acting the same way she was when you're in Colorado saying that following us and things like that?
Yes.
So what happens after that conversation?
We end up leaving. And I remember her saying like, you know, we don't have like the money to keep staying at all these hotels in different places. So we drove to Myrtle Beach.
And do you remember when you got to Myrtle Beach?
A day or two after that.
Did you turn the van in to the Budget Rental Center in Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
Did you go there directly or did you go somewhere else first?
We went somewhere else first.
Remember how long it took to turn the van?
I remember we got to Myrtle Beach. She had parked the van at a hotel near where we were going to stay at like a friend's house.
Okay. Do you know why she did that or did you ask her why she did that?
No, I think she said like she just didn't want the person that we were staying with, like for them to get like attention brought to their house.
Did your mom ever mention to you the fact that that van may have had a GPS device on it? She's driving.
No.
Do you know that?
No.
You know that now?
Yes.
How'd you unload the van in Myrtle Beach or did you unload the van?
I did not know.
Who unloaded the van in Myrtle Beach?
I was told something of who unloaded the van. I don't know if you want to hear that.
Well, who told you that? I guess it depends on that.
It is my best friend's mom.
Okay, we can't get into that. We can get into things your mom tells you, but not others, okay?
Okay.
You stay in Myrtle Beach up until the point your mom was arrested?
Yes.
Tell the jury about your mom's arrest.
I was scheduled to go in to meet with my recruiter that morning. And she brought me there. She waited in the car that we had there. And that's when I walked in and like there was like police and everything talking to me and told me that she had been arrested.
Did you actually see her get arrested?
No, I did not.
And did this happen on March 2nd of 2020?
Yes.
Did you give an interview with FBI agent sitting over here?
Yes.
Recognize him?
Yes.
And did you talk about some of the things that we talked about here with regards to the Dollar Tree and the events surrounding Gannon's disappearance?
We did. Yes.
Were you completely upfront with him at that time?
Yes.
When you were talking to him, did you still believe that your mom didn't have anything to do?
Yes.
And that was before Gannon's body was discovered, is that right?
Yes.
What about when Gannon's body was discovered?
That was a little bit after when I found out it was discovered in Florida. It was just weird because, like, to myself, I was like, we were in Florida. But I kept like wanting to think it was like a coincidence and that somebody like did follow us or there was a different story.
You still believed your mom even after that?
Yes.
At what point did you not believe your mom anymore, that she didn't have anything to do with Gannon's death?
I like started having questions, but I still like believed her for a while, and it wasn't until this past like November, it was recently.
What are your thoughts about your mom pleading not guilty by reason of insanity?
I didn't know what it meant at first. Yeah.
Did you learn what that meant in November?
Yes.
I want to talk about your life with your mom since the day you were born, as far back as you can remember, okay?
Okay.
Had you been with her 24/7?
Yes. Other than like when I was at school or work or.
Would she ever disappear for weeks at a time and you not know where she's at?
No.
Had you always known where she was at up until we talked about the Life 360 app, but had you always known where your mom was at for a given time?
Yes.
Had you ever gone to Australia with your mom?
No.
Have you ever gone to Saudi Arabia with your mom?
No.
Has your mom ever gone to Australia or Saudi Arabia without you?
No.
Would you know that if she did?
Yes.
Had you ever seen your mom change personalities into someone she isn't?
No.
What do you mean by that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Has she ever not remembered who you were?
No.
Have you ever seen her not remember who Al Stauch was?
No.
Have you ever seen her not remember who Gannon was?
No.
Lena?
No.
Had she ever been treated for any mental illness in your lifetime?
No.
Would you know that if she was treated?
Yes.
Would you know if she ever went to a psychiatric hospital and was in an inpatient program and couldn't leave because of some kind of mental illness?
Yes.
Had that ever happened?
No.
Had she ever seen a therapist about mental illness that you know of?
No.
During the entire time, especially in January 27th of 2020, all the way up till you go to Myrtle Beach in this van, your mother have the capacity to know right from wrong?
Yes.
Did you see that with your own eyes?
Yes.
Did she know how to check into rooms?
Yes.
Did she know how to register for rooms?
Yes.
Did she obey the traffic laws?
Yes.
Did she do anything unusual on during this entire trip?
No.
Have you seen people who are mentally ill?
Yes.
Do you know the difference in what I'm talking about? Someone who can't function in society versus the way your mom was acting?
Yes.
Did you see any evidence of that with your mother?
No.
Had you seen instances, especially in January and January 27th of 2020, where your mother had the capacity to form the intent to do things?
What do you mean?
She intended to go to the store.
Yes.
And you went to Walmart to buy clothes. Did you talk about that? And then did you in fact go to Walmart to buy clothes?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to see her to have the capacity to form judgment, to use judgment and reflection, and to make decisions?
What do you mean?
Was she able to decide things?
Oh, yes.
Was she able to rent this rental van on her own, take you and drive Texas all the way to Florida up to Myrtle Beach? Has your mom ever referred to herself as Jasmine?
No.
Do you have a cousin named Jasmine?
No.
Jazz?
Her name's Jaslyn.
Jaslyn?
Yeah.
Okay. I must have misunderstood something. Do you know who Jasmine is in the Disney movies?
Yes.
You watched a lot of Disney movies?
No.
You never seen her act like Jasmine, the princess in Aladdin, saying she's going to go to Saudi Arabia and things like that?
No.
Have you ever heard your mother refer to herself as Taylor?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
She didn't like her first name, so she wanted to change it. And I thought she changed her middle name to Taylor, and that's why she went by Taylor.
Did she open social media accounts with the name Taylor because of what you just said?
Yes.
Do you know if she ever legally changed her name to Taylor?
No.
When she was referring to herself as Taylor, did she take on a different personality, or is it your same old mom?
The same.
What about Victoria? Has she ever referred to herself as Victoria?
No.
Has she ever referred to herself as Harmony?
No.
Has she ever referred to herself as Christina?
No.
Has she ever referred to herself as Little Lucia?
No.
Has she ever referred to herself by the name of Maria Sanchez?
No.
Do you know a Maria Sanchez?
No.
Have you ever seen your mother speak with a Spanish accent?
No.
If she had, would you remember that?
Yes.
During these times when you're talking to your mother and she's angry about being set up by the police and being accused, did she ever change personalities and start talking in Spanish or in a Spanish accent?
No.
Harley, at one point last year, were you concerned that you might be charged with a crime based on the trip to Florida?
Yes.
What crime was it that you were aware of that you might be charged with?
That I would be like an accessory.
That's really the first degree murder, right?
Yes.
And did you receive information through your attorney that we was willing to listen to your side of the story before we made a decision as to whether or not we were going to file charges?
Yes.
And did you fly out to Colorado and give us a statement, much like what you just said today, to this jury?
Yes, I did.
And why did you do that?
Because it's the right thing to do.
When you gave that statement, was there any guarantee as to whether or not we were going to file charges against you?
No, there was not.
What was the guarantee? What was told to you?
There was no guarantees.
You know that what you told us could not be used against you.
Yes.
Were you completely honest with us? Say us. I was the one asking you questions, right?
Yes.
And we videotaped that?
Yes.
Completely honest with us.
Yes.
Sustained. You can rephrase the question.
You understood what you were coming in to talk to us about.
Yes.
You understood the consequences that you might be charged with a serious charge, right?
Yes.
You know that during the entirety of your statement.
Yes.
Do you now know that you cannot be charged with that crime?
Yes.
Why?
Because you guys believed me. I was being honest.
Have you heard anything called the statute of limitations? Talk to you about that?
No.
Were you aware that there was kind of a deadline as to when we needed to make a decision about filing charges on you?
No.
So we don't need to go any further than that, but at this time, you know you cannot be charged with that, right?
Correct.
But it wasn't part of the agreement that you signed back on August 17th of 2020. Do you remember?
Correct.
And do you remember signing an agreement?
Yes.
If I may approach, Your Honor.
You may.
This is People's Exhibit 324. And the scissors, I'll open it for you. Make sure I don't disturb the document in here.
Before you wade into that, would now be a good time for a break?
About to wrap up with this, Your Honor. So
Okay,
if you wanna
that's
wait-
fine. Nope, it's all good.
And for the record, I'm pulling out the contents of People's Exhibit 324. And I'm going to hand that to you. It looks like this is a 2-page document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And can you put those on that table?
Yes.
What is that?
This is what I signed after my interview.
Is that the proffer agreement that you signed back in August of 2020 prior to doing your interview with our office?
Yes.
And is that the same as it was back in August when you signed?
Yes.
Move to admit People's Exhibit 320.
Exhibit 324 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our afternoon recess. If I can have everyone back in the jury room at, say, 3:30, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. With that, we will see you at 3:30. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Ms. Hunt, you can step down if you would like. Please watch your step. And we will be back in session at 3:30.
All rise.
Let me know if my audio is okay. Theirs sounds good on my end. Harley does cut in and out a little bit. So real quick, just let me know if my audio is okay. Weird, Leah. I don't know what was doing that. Hopefully it's better when they come back. I thought maybe it was my camera. And if it is, I will just shut it off. All right. So I think the biggest thing we learned was Harley wasn't given any type of, to where she wouldn't get in trouble if she spoke, and that she truly just believed everything her mom was telling her. Which, I mean, to all of us in this chat, it's just hard to comprehend. I was a sassy 17-year-old. My kids were sassy 17-year-olds. And it's just hard to imagine one that didn't ask, some of those simple questions. I believe that Harley's telling the truth with what she's saying on the stand. a lot of the things that she doesn't remember, maybe because she didn't think her mom was doing anything wrong. So, it wouldn't have been something that she would have thought much about, and, enough to remember 3 years later anyway. She said that when his body was discovered, she was still thinking it was coincidence. She was like, we were just in Florida. But she still didn't think her mom had done anything. And she said it wasn't until this past November, so goodness, only 6 months ago or so, that she fully realized her mom did do this. And she testified she's never seen any change in personalities. Her mom's never been treated for any kind of mental illness. She's never been in a psychiatric hospital. That she just never saw any of these things from her mother that would go along with her insanity plea. She did say her mom had social media accounts that sometimes she referenced herself or referred to herself as Taylor, but that was just because she didn't like her name Leticia. But Harley had never heard of all these other names. And my guess is the reason all these names are being brought up is because that's what her psychiatrist that testifies for the defense is going to bring all these names up as multiple personalities. I thought it was kind of strange that they didn't bother to get the suitcases out of the van, or even like Harley wouldn't want hers. I mean, I've seen her TikTok. Most of you probably have. She's very self-aware. And for a 17-year-old to, like she's going to wake up in the morning and not be able to brush and fix her hair or put on clean clothes or anything, seems a little strange. Right, Deanna? Okay, I'm going to put this on break real quick, see if I can't figure out what's wrong with the sound, since I don't really show anything on my end, but I absolutely believe you. Let me see if I can't fix it real quick. I'm just going to throw the break screen up and see what I can do. Do I still sound like a robot? Angels Among Us, I didn't hear anything said about Leticia going into Walmart alone. If I did, I don't remember it. But they did go and get one. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to start this over if it's still sounding all laggy. It's been great all day, so I don't know what's causing it to do that.